Grade 9 students. On this video, we will be continuing our lesson about quadrilaterals. Before we proceed to our next lesson, let us have a review first. First question, what are quadrilaterals? Next, what are the different kinds of quadrilaterals? How can you describe the parallelograms? And last one, what are the 6 properties of parallelograms? For our first question, please remember that a quadrilateral is a polygon with 4 sides. For our second question about the different kinds of quadrilaterals, let's recall that we have general quadrilateral, trapezoid, isosceles trapezoid, parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, square, kite, and the rhomboid. Third question, how could you describe the parallelograms? A parallelogram is a quadrilateral, but please remember that it is consisting of 2 pairs that are parallel to each other. Fourth question, what are the 6 properties of parallelograms? We can say that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram if it has a pair of parallel opposite sides. In a parallelogram, any 2 opposite sides are congruent. Third property, in a parallelogram, any 2 opposite angles are congruent. Fourth property, in a parallelogram, any 2 consecutive angles are supplementary. Fifth property, the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. And the last property, a diagonal of a parallelogram forms 2 congruent triangles. Before we proceed to our new discussion for this day, remember that a parallelogram has 4 sides, consisting of 2 pairs that are parallel to each other. A parallelogram may be equiangular, meaning 4 identical angles, equilateral, meaning 4 identical side lengths, or both equiangular and equilateral. On this video, we will talk about special parallelograms. For our learning targets, we need to explain theorems on the different kinds of parallelogram, the rectangle, the rhombus, and the square specifically. For our second learning target, we're going to apply theorems on different kinds of parallelogram to solve problems. Our discussion will focus on the special parallelograms, namely the rhombus, the rectangle, and the square. Let us talk about the rhombus first. Let us recall that a rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides. So let's say that we have here the rhombus A, B, C, and D. Based on our definition, we can derive our first property. We can say that all 4 sides are congruent. So it means AB is congruent with BC as well as CD and AD. For our next property, we have opposite angles are congruent. So angle A is congruent with angle C. If angle A is 60 degrees, then angle C is also 60 degrees. If we can say that angle D is 100 degrees, therefore, angle B is also 100 degrees. For our next properties, the diagonals bisect each other. As you can see here, we have the diagonals AC and BD. Let's say that these diagonals met at point E. So we now have AC is bisected by E, so AE is congruent with CE. If the measure of full AC is 10 cm, therefore AE is 5 cm and EC is also 5 cm. If ED is 12 cm, therefore EB is also 12 cm and DP is 24 cm. For our next properties, this is about the diagonals. The diagonals are perpendicular. What does it mean? So these diagonals formed a 90-degree angle. So this angle is 90 degrees. Next, the diagonals bisect vertices. When we say vertices, these are the points that we connected to form the rhombus. So we have here the vertex A, vertex B, vertex C, and vertex D. These are also our angle, wherein the diagonals bisected din. Ibig sabihin, hinati ng diagonals equally ang ating mga angles. So let's say that angle A is 60 degrees. Based on our figure, the diagonals bisected each angles. So we have angle DAC and angle BAC. Since the diagonals bisected the angles, therefore DAC is 30 degrees and BAC is 30 degrees. Next, let's say we have this angle ABC. The diagonal DB bisected it. So we have ADB and angle BDC. And they are congruent with each other. Next, we have angle C, which is bisected by the diagonal AC. So nahati yung angle C. Meron tayong yung angles na na-form, ACD at saka BCA. Next, angle B na nahati rin. So we have A, B, D, and angle D, B, C. Take note, the diagonals bisect the vertices and they are forming two equal angles, two congruent angles. Next, consecutive angles are supplementary. So, angle A, ang consecutive niya ay CB and CD. And please take note, just like what we have discussed on the properties of parallelograms, if A is 100 degrees, therefore B is 80 degrees because they are supplementary. If angle A is 100 degrees, therefore C is 100 degrees. That leads us to D, which is also 80 degrees. Kasi nga, opposite angles are congruent and the consecutive angles are supplementary. So let us summarize the properties of a rhombus. First, all four sides are congruent. Next, opposite angles are congruent. The diagonals bisect each other. The diagonals are perpendicular. Diagonals bisect vertices. Diagonals are not congruent. And consecutive angles are supplementary. Let us now proceed to the properties of a rectangle. Let us recall the definition of a rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. So that is our first property. Let's say we have here the rectangle W, X, Y, and Z, wherein the diagonals bisected at A. Okay, first property, all 4 right angles are right angles. So, angle W is 90-degree angle, as well as angle X, as well as angle Z, and angle Y. They are all 90-degree angles. Next, opposite sides are congruent. So, WX is congruent with ZY. And XY is congruent with WZ. If the measure of WX is 20 cm, therefore ZY is 20 cm. If the measurement of side XY is 12 cm, therefore WC is also 12 cm. Next, opposite angles are congruent. Because they are all 90 degrees, they are all congruent with each other. Next, the diagonals bisect each other. So, in this case, WY is bisected at point A. So, WA is congruent with AY. AZ is congruent with XA. So, let's say that WY is 16 cm. Therefore, WA is 8 cm and AY is 8 cm. If XZ is 15 cm, therefore AZ is 7.5 cm and AX is 7.5 cm. Next, the diagonals are congruent. Please take note that WY is congruent with XZ. Unlike rhombus, ang diagonals ng rhombus ay hindi congruent sa isa't isa. Pero dito kay rectangle, si WY, congruent siya or same measure siya kay XZ. So, ito ay isang special property ng isang rectangle. Next, consecutive angles are supplementary because we have here 90 degrees. Therefore, 90 din yung katabi niya. And then, 90 plus 90, 180 degrees. So, lahat ng kanyang angles, kapag kinuha natin ang sum ng total ay 360 degrees. Ang consecutive angle niya, 180 degrees. Ang kanyang bawat angle, 90 degrees. So, here are the properties of a rectangle. All 4 are right angles. Each angle is a 90-degree angle. Next, opposite sides are congruent. Opposite angles are congruent. Or we can say that all of them are congruent with each other because lahat nga sila ay 90-degree angles. Next, the diagonals bisect each other. The diagonals are congruent. Kay rhombus, hindi parehas ang sukat ng diagonals. Pero kay rectangle, isa itong special property niya because the diagonals are congruent. Next, the consecutive angles are supplementary. Since each angle is 90 degree, so 90 plus the consecutive angle na 90 rin, therefore they are both 180 degrees. Let us now discuss the square. Let us recall the definition of a square. We all know that a square is a combination of a rectangle and a rhombus. Why? Because it is a parallelogram with 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. So let's say we have the square LOVE. L-O-V-E. first property, all four sides are congruent. So meaning, LO is congruent with OV as well as with VE and LE. If the measurement of LO is 5 cm, therefore OV is also 5 cm, EV is also 5 cm, and LE is also 5 cm. Next, all four are right angles. So angle L is 90-degree angle, as well as angle O, angle V, and angle E. They are all right angles. So each angle measures 90 degrees. Next, the diagonals bisect each other. So let's say that they bisected at X. So again, LV is divided into two equal parts. We have the LX and XV. Next, we have at OE, it is divided into two equal parts, the EX and the XO, because the diagonals bisect each other. Next, the diagonals are perpendicular. So these diagonals form a 90-degree angle. So meaning LXO is a 90-degree angle. LXE is also a 90-degree angle. EXV is a 90-degree angle, and OXV is a 90-degree angle. Next, the diagonals bisect vertices. So meaning the 90 degrees was divided into two equal parts. So take note, let's say we have L. Angle L is bisected by LV. So nung nahati, si angle L, meron na tayong ELV. At siya ay 45 degrees. Si OLV nahati rin, meron din tayong 45 degrees. Ganon din ang nangyari kay angle O, na naging LOE at saka EOV. 90 degrees nahati, so it means naging 45 degrees ang bawat isang angle. Next, the diagonals are congruent. So meaning, LV is congruent with OE. So kagaya siya ni rectangle. Ang kanyang diagonals parehas din ang sukat. Kung si LV ay 12 cm, si OE 12 cm din. Next, consecutive angles are supplementary. So kagaya din ni rectangle. Ito kasi ay 90 degrees si angle O. So isama natin si angle L, isama natin kay O, makaka-form tayo ng 180 degrees. Kasi nga, consecutive angles din sila. 90 plus 90, 180. To sum up the properties of the square, we have all four sides are congruent, all four are right angles, diagonals bisect each other, diagonals are perpendicular, diagonals bisect vertices, diagonals are congruent, and consecutive angles are supplementary. As you can observe, pinagsama ulit ang properties ni rhombus at ni rectangle na buo ang properties ng square. Let us have these discussion questions. First question, what is the difference between a rhombus and a parallelogram? For our answer, a rhombus, we are guaranteed that all sides have the same length, while a parallelogram only specifies that opposite sides are congruent, meaning sa isang rhombus, ang bawat side same length. Pero sa parallelogram, ang sinabi lamang, yung opposite sides niya lang ang same length. Second question, what is the difference between a square and a rhombus? A square and a rhombus both have four congruent sides, but a square also has four congruent right angles, whereas a rhombus only specifies that opposite angles are congruent and they do not need to be 90 degrees. Kay square, meron tayong 4 equal sides and 4 congruent angles, and lahat sila 90 degrees. Samantalang kay rhombus, ang sinasabi lamang natin dito, opposite angles ang congruent, pero hindi kailangan na sila ay 90 degrees. Why is a square a rectangle? A square is a rectangle because it fulfills all the properties of a rectangle. Remember, for a parallelogram to be a rectangle, it must have 4 right angles, opposite sides congruent, opposite sides parallel, opposite angles congruent, diagonals bisect each other, and diagonals are congruent. A square satisfies all of these requirements. Therefore, a square is always a rectangle. Inuulit ko, ang square, lahat ng properties ni rectangle meron siya. Kaya si square, rectangle at all times. For our last question, when is a rhombus a rectangle? A rhombus can be a rectangle only if all 4 angles of the rhombus are 90 degrees. Kasi nga, ang requirement lamang ni rectangle, dapat 90 degrees ang kanyang 4 angles. So, magiging ganun lang si rhombus, magiging rectangle lang siya kung ang bawat angle niya ay 90 degrees. For more discussion and examples, study special parallelograms and how to prove and apply those theorems on different kinds of parallelogram on pages 255 to 266 of your e-math recs. Our quotation for the day, life doesn't require that we be the best, only that we try our best. Good luck and thank you for watching this video.